Call signs. This is the Mission and Goals podcast. Radio check over. Hang in there, buddy. We've got you. You're not alone.
Sorry, I just have to ask a question. How do... Because I've noticed in the veteran community, veterans are fucking angry. Like, so angry. How do you not convert, but is angry, me and self included, I've got some anger issues that I work on daily. How do you tell these veterans, or any veteran, or any person really, how do they enact from being angry, like at the world and want to watch the world destroy, to forgiving? I know it's a conscious choice, but how do we get veterans to do that?
Yeah, look, I mean, consciously, we know that anger is wrong.
Yep.
And then anger itself, right, comes in a state of changing. It comes from a state of setting an intention first, and then it's an obedient, disciplined walk until you reach a state of deliverance and freedom. So, but you want to firstly unlock why. And you've just done the Survive to Thrive program, module 4.1. Indoctrination to military service, how it impacts the way we think, feel and behave. You break it down to me. What did you get out of that?
What I got out of it, well, the two main things I got out of it was the relief of stress. So obviously when we get out of defence, we don't have that stress relief anymore. I don't work out anymore. Like, you know, I've had fucking 8 surgeries and I've used that as an excuse not to work out. I'm getting into calisthenics now. But like, I don't have an outlet for stress, and I build it up till I lose my anger. And so now I acknowledge, like, I know when I'm angry. What I've done since doing the course is now, instead of being angry for a week, I'm now angry for 10 minutes because I've acknowledged it, I notice it, and I go, okay, it's not serving me anymore. I've got to put that aside, because 95% of our, like, we can't control 95%, like, how do I word this? 95% of what we're angry or emotional about, we can't control. And there's 3 things we can control, which is our emotions, actions, and thoughts. And so that's what I focus on now to get for that side of things. You
can control and you can renew.
Yep.
You can renew. Absolutely. You got to renew, brother. It's if you're making a transformation, let's have a look at Christianity, right? When someone repents, they don't turn away, they turn to. So I'm going to turn away from alcohol, drugs, sex before marriage, right? I'm going to turn away. But if I don't turn to something, I do a full 360. Where am I going to go? I'm going to relapse back into the same thing. So you have to turn to. When we turn to, we renew. That's how transformation happens, right? And so it's not just education. Remember, you need a community, right? It takes a village to raise a child. Mate, we're still got inner children inside of us. It takes a village for us too. Yep. So that's why, you know, you want to be able to use community as much as you can. So you're turning away from certain people, certain behavior, certain environments, and you're turning to something new to, you know, restore it. Now, if I've got mentors, remember that we are made up of the 5 people that we hang around with the most. And they are influencing me to deal with things with forgiveness, with love, with compassion, to give freely, you know. Who do you think I'm going to become? I'm inspired by this. It's around me all the time. Who do I want to become? But if you don't have that around you, you're just going to turn back around in a circle, because that's the way that you just know how to go. Yeah. Despite the pain, it's direction. You know, we all need direction. So it's, you got to renew the mind.
The second thing I learned was the indoctrination of, like, I call it brainwashing, indoctrination. I didn't realise, like, you always hear about military people being brainwashed and indoctrinated. I didn't realise the extent of it. So I knew that drill and all that was instinctive, and that's to get you on the battlefield. Like, I knew all that side of things. But what you teach on that course, the level of indoctrination, that it was fucking eye-opening. It was so eye-opening that I've told it to my daughter. I was like, this is the reasons why I act this way. I'm working on it. But at least now we both know why. It's not just me as a person. Like, it is me, but it's brainwashing, indoctrination over 15 years that I was in the army, and it's going to take time for me to get out of it. So it's huge what you've taught. Like, I took so much out of that course, that especially that indoctrination. Yeah. People don't realise. Veterans don't realise. The world doesn't realise how much we're indoctrinated. They think it's just a job.
Yeah. Well, the moment you say to someone, do not question an order, you take away critical thinking of a human being. So when you even get into Christianity, the way that cults work is we're not supposed to have blind faith. There's answers within a Bible. There's answers within people around you. But if you go into blind faith, that is just believe me, just do this, just do that, and you're not, creating your own education or having critical thinking about what you're doing. Next thing you know, you're in Jonestown with Jim Jones drinking the Kool-Aid. So it's you got to have a level of critical thinking. Now, they have a purpose in terms of that. Things have to move really quickly within the military. There are things about it that could change and save our lives. They just don't want to give you the reason behind it, right? Which is really silly. I mean, if we all knew that the whole reason we need to be indoctrinated is it comes down to when we're on a battlefield and a shot rings out and you question an order, mate, why should I run down and crawl, observe, aim, fire? And you're not working automatically, instinctively, and without thought in terms of, how we roll. You're not going to be a very well-oiled operator. You're going to be quite a messy person out on the battlefield, and you probably get shot and killed pretty quickly. We don't want a military that is questioning everything. But they have to have confidence in how we fight. Like, I don't actually take away the way that the military works. What I'm saying is that you guys are being trained for war. You're not being trained to come home. And my program does exactly that. Yeah. So whilst you're in, this really works and it makes you a very well-oiled operator. But as you're coming out, if you don't know the information, you're not going to be able to articulate what's going on with you, and therefore it's going to rot within you and it's going to break you down. So for your listeners, I'll give you an understanding of how this works. So 46.8% of defence members experience a mental health concern within the first 12 months of discharge. That is wild. If you had a jelly bean jar and you said to me, Dane, half of these will make you unwell, you're about to step out, you want a jelly bean? I'd go, mate, I'm not going anywhere. Right? Why, when we step out within that first 12 months, does 46.8% of defence members experience mental health? And 46% within 5 years are actually diagnosed with a condition. Half. And the military right now, the Australian Defence Force, are out there saying that the mental health issues are no different from the general public. How does that even make sense? It doesn't make any sense. If you have a look at some of these contradicting and conflicting clinical data, they seem very agenda-based to me, because I know that 46.8% is actually quite conservative, right? You cannot train someone to be indoctrinated for war, where things such as controlled aggression, which turns into aggression, to always be switched on, to never get complacent, which turns into performance anxiety unhealed turns into anxiety and general anxiety disorders. You can't teach people, all of these genetically conditioning emotional responses that get right down to the deep DNA level in us, and just expect them to come out and not break down when they come out. Like what they're saying, right, and this is true, a loss of purpose is the reason why we exacerbate stress when we come out. Losing our identity. Who am I without that uniform? Of course, that's going to have a massive stressor on you. Who am I? I mean, imagine the impact of that. Knowing who you are, what you stand for, what your principles and values are. It's all within the military. A loss of community, people of understanding, coming outside of your tribe and everything that everyone knows, like we know each other, you and I, as soon as we sit down, I know your background, you know mine, bro. We're in the same family. You know what I mean? And the next is the adaptation stress. And the adaptation stress is the one where they use it in such a generalized, vague term. But that is the reason. It's the adaptation stress. It's the fourth stressor that is the one that's breaking us. So if you're telling people who, let's just break it down right now. All right, I was going to skip a few steps there. You leave when you leave home, everything that you've ever known, you're about to go into a military environment. Now, it takes 4 to 6 weeks to create a psychological to mechanical habit. That means something begins to happen for you automatic, instinctive, and without thought. Now, I went over to the United States. I was living in Indiana. My ex-wife was from Indiana. And I was speaking to her father-in-law. And he was telling me about golf camps, basketball camps, all the different camps that they do in America. And they take these kids away from their friends, their family, everything they ever known, and they take them out and they go through fundamental drill movements over and over and over and over again until it happens automatic, instinctive, and without thought, right? They're away from everything they know, everything they knew before, and it's just over and over and over again. So we go into this environment. Everything that we knew about ourselves is not just taken away. We're actually told that who you were before is lower than who you are now. You were a civilian before, or a civvy scum, as we referred to it when I was in. Yeah. So now all of a sudden you're in an environment and you're a recruit, and they're telling you you're the lowest piece of junk in here, but outside of here, you're like, well, what happens if I leave? I'm going back to something lower than that, and I'm a recruit. So that's the first part of the psyche. Now, when they come up to address you in the bus, are they coming up to you passively? Hey, bro, did you bring your golf clubs?
Maybe these days.
Yeah. But did you bring your golf clubs from the recruitment video? No, they don't. They do it aggressively because aggression is the thing that we get told gets the fastest and best results with aggression. And so we get off the bus and we don't even know how to march. But yet they're screaming at us as we're marching down to the Q store. So everything that you ever knew about your civilian clothes is now being taken away from you and stripped. And so you put everything on. And from a very detailed state, they're going to show you how to tie up your laces. Left lace over the right. Now we're learning, again, the basics of children's stuff. Yep. Left lace over the right. And you do everything to a very well detailed state. Now, if they tell you to do something and you don't, and you question it, what do they say to you? Don't question an order, right? Sure. So your critical thinking has now been taken away. You just got to do. You got to work it out the way that they do it. Monkey see, monkey do. Take away critical thinking. This is how we do it. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we got that. Now we're going to have to teach you how to walk, right? We're going to reteach you how to walk. You're going to learn how to march now, right? And the first drill movement is from standard ease to attention. Okay, we've got that. We're going to go over that over and over again, It becomes automatic, instinctive, without thought. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. We're not questioning order. Now we're working automatically, instinctively, without thought. Cool. Don't get much sleep. You're getting screamed at down hallways. This is what you're now learning. This is what you're being renewed with, and you're not questioning anything. So now screaming is normal. Marching this way is the way to go. In fact, when you leave the ADF, you'll see recruits who actually have to break themselves out of step because they've created these habits. Otherwise, they're marching down the street, right? And so now it's begun. The conditioning has begun, and so. Then we have to get you to be able to, kill someone, because at the end of the day, that's what you're here for. It doesn't matter if you're Air Force, Navy, Army, infantry, or non-combat. We need a basic level to be able to protect this country. So we're going to have to teach you how to kill, because that's the outcome. Everything has an outcome. And so how do you get that? Well, you can't be thinking too much into it. You just got to be able to do it and respond. So now we're going to fill you up with history, the history of the ADF. We're going to fill you up with everything. We're going to build this value, this new values inside you. And so, all of the values start to become instilled into you. And you start to feel extremely proud. You're bigger than who you ever used to be before. Civilians are so low to you. They're nothing to you. You start to create these new friendships. You're in your new tribe. We've got a purpose now that's bigger and above ourselves, right? And so now everything's looking epic. I'm feeling like this confidence. When the first day, you were just dog shit.
10 foot tall and bulletproof.
10 foot tall, and now you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And so now we're going to go through some weapon drills. Lower down, cock, lock, look. Weapon fires, weapon stops, lower down, cock, lock, look. And we do that over and over again until it becomes what?
Instinctive.
Exactly. Automatic, instinctive, without thought. So we go through these drill movements, and finally we start going outfield. We're starting to really bond now. Now they're starting to, the section commanders are a little bit more autonomous with you. And you're really feeling a part of something. Confidence is really starting to build. But you know if you step out of line, there's going to be huge consequences. You know if you question an order, there's going to be wild consequences against you. So you've fallen into line, and finally you go outfield, and all of a sudden you hear a shot ring out. It's run, down, crawl, observe, aim, fire. Run, down, crawl, observe, aim, fire. And this is such a this conditioning you do over and over again until you're at this level where, particularly if you're in a combat corps, when people see danger in civilian street, their first response is fight or flight. Flight is probably the first response. But all of you collectively are turning towards that response now. You're turning towards it. Now, you can't turn towards a response passively. You have to do it aggressively. Do you not? Yeah. So what have we now instilled in the emotional response? Well, when you got off that bus, the first thing that we were told was aggression gets you the best results. Mm-hmm. We got told to never question an order. So that's another thing that we get told. We got told that, you have to do everything with a sense of urgency, right? And half the time you're feeling pretty disarrayed. You're halfway through, you're in the mess hall and you're eating, and then all of a sudden they're screaming at you to come out. You haven't even finished your meal. So you're working at this incredible sense of urgency in everything that you do. And now we're at the end, and we have to now use anger as a response, right? Now we're using it. And so the shot rings out, and then all of a sudden we turn towards the danger, and it's run, down, crawl, observe, aim, fire. And it becomes what? Automatic, instinctive, without thought. So now we've created patterns within the human system, which is performance anxiety. We're told never to question an order. So now our critical thinking has been taken away, but we've added values to it. So what ends up happening is when you leave civilian street and your values no longer match your actions in the way that you walk. The values that you had within the military, all of these emotional responses no longer work, Joel. So now we go into what we call cognitive dissonance. It's where our values are not aligning with our behavior. So we know we're doing something.